You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
From the rolling bluffs of the Driftless region to the pristine shorelines of Superior in Michigan, from the Northwoods to the Kettle Moraine, Civic Media broadcasts across all of Wisconsin for all of Wisconsin. Take a trip with us across the radio network to hear from communities throughout the state. This is the Civic Media Spotlight.
And welcome back to the second hour of the Civic Media Spotlight. To start us off, we have the Todd Allbaugh Show. In the Todd Allbaugh Show, they talk about state politics, national politics, and sports. Overall, the headlines are flying by at a dizzying rate. As we begin to unpack today's news, Civic Media sports reporter Mike Clemens calls in to explain exactly what's going on in the NBA draft. The Milwaukee Bucks have made some unexpected moves in efforts to assemble a younger team around superstar Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with our outstanding producer and engineer, Mr. Aaron Zommers, on the board. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 2 o'clock on this Tuesday, July the 1st, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite. Welcome in, everybody. Glad to have you here at the world headquarters, downtown Madison. Puffy clouds in the sky. A beautiful day across most of the state. Glad to be back here in Madison along with Zommers after being at our great station up in Green Bay yesterday, WGBW. Again, many thanks to Pat Kreitlow and Trygve Olsen for filling in hour one. It was an eventful day yesterday, Zommers, but nothing compared to what we have coming up today. Lots of news to bring to you at the bottom of the hour. Our very own political editor, founder of the Recombobulation Area, Mr. Dan Schaefer, will be along live to break down the breaking news a block away. At the state capitol early this morning, white smoke emerged from the Capitol Dome. Well, maybe that's a bit dramatic, but there is a budget deal. At least in principle, Governor Tony Evers, a Democrat, announced that he had come to terms with the Republican leadership in the legislature. Apparently, there may, keyword may, be some Democratic votes on the Senate side to get this across the finish line. At this hour, we can report to you that Democrats, the Democratic caucus in the Senate is in caucus. A bit of a consternation there. Perhaps we'll discuss it all with Dan Schaefer at the bottom of the hour. And coming out of Washington, D.C., a little over an hour ago, the United States Senate narrowly passed President Trump's massive tax and spending bill. We'll give you the details on that, tell you why it took Vice President Vance to break a tie in the Senate to get that across the finish line. And if that were not enough for a Tuesday on the 1st of July, breaking news out of Milwaukee at Fiserv Forum regarding the Milwaukee Bucks. Nobody covers it better. Nobody knows the inside better than our very own sports reporter, Mike Clemens, who is kind enough to join us live on the phone. Mike, thanks for being here. What's new at Fiserv?
Crazy, busy news day all around, Todd.
Yeah, absolutely.
It started last Thursday night during the draft, and the Bucks had told us earlier in the week, because we were saying, hey, what's your plan? Because they let us in, they serve us a dinner, and then we watch the draft as it happens, and then after they make their picks, they come on downstairs. We talk to the GM, maybe we talk to the player on the speakerphone, maybe one of the owners or something like that, Doc Rivers. They say, you know what? They sort of telegraphed to us they had no big deals coming up in the first round. Come Thursday night for the second round, we'll open the doors at 6, serve you guys some dinner, watch the draft, and then, John Horst, the Bucks GM, will come down and talk about what happened with that second-round pick. A half hour before they are supposed to open the doors, and I, drive into Milwaukee, they put out a notice, no event tonight. Yeah.
I saw this on social media. I follow you on social media. I'm like, who does this? I mean, all these reporters come in. There's got to be something going on, so go ahead.
There was something going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just like, oh, come on, John, just come on down and talk to us. Because he's going to get the Giannis questions, right? Because there's all this stuff about Giannis's indecisive. He's watching carefully what the Bucks do. So we talked to Milt Newton about the kid that they drafted from Serbia, Bogo Markovic, 19 years old, a forward, accurate shooter. And then we get into the weekend. Now we're into what they call the legal tampering period, where you can make these agreements, and then actual free agency starts in a couple of days when you can sign the contracts. So the first move that John Horst, the GM, makes is, okay, secure Bobby Portis.
Yeah.
$44 million, 3 years, 30-year-old. And, he had a rough year. The house gets broken into, right? Then a 25-game suspension because he took the wrong painkiller, for his ankles. Comes back. But, accurate shooter, probably at the peak of his career. So that you sign Bobby. The next thing that happens is, all right, well, Brook Lopez. I mean, one of the things that we saw happen with the Bucks this year is getting up and down the court and keeping up with teams like the Pacers and, the Thunder, who ended up in the finals. So Brook Lopez, who's originally from Los Angeles, he signs a 2-year deal worth $18 million last night, or agrees to it, to join the Clippers. So at 37 years old, Brook Lopez finishes out his career on the West Coast. Okay, that's fine. Now what are you going to do at center? You got that Jericho Sims kid that you picked up in the offseason. Bobby Portis can play some center. If need be, Giannis could probably move to the center. So today they make this huge move. They get Miles Turner from the Pacers, your competitor in the Eastern Conference, on a 4-year deal worth $107 million. The Pacers are right now, similar to the Bucks, they're scratching their heads because Tyler Halliburton, the kid out of Oshkosh North High School, their star player, what happened to him? He went down with the torn Achilles in the NBA Finals. So as they're trying to figure out what to do there, somehow Horst gets their center for 4 years, $107 million. Where's that money going to come from? We're going to waive Damian Lillard. We're saying goodbye to Damian Lillard after 2 years. Very accurate shooter, great team leader, but 35 years old. Later this month, he'll be 36 when he comes back from the Achilles, let's say a year from now. Remember, he had first the calf injury, the blood clot, and then the torn Achilles. So the early word is Dame is okay with this. It's like, all right, now the pressure's off. The owners, Wes Edens and Jimmy from Cleveland is going to be. They're going to be paying this guy $22.5 million a year for the next 5 years in dead money.
Wow. So
to get this thing under the cap.
Mike Clemens, help me understand, because I don't follow this stuff, especially the NBA like you do. By waiving him in the NBA like that, is there any opportunity that he could still theoretically come back to the Bucks at some point in the future?
Yeah, but the way all this is set up, it's like, no, we're moving on.
Okay.
And in the immediate right now, that means that Dame can also move back to Portland, where his family is.
Sure.
Just focus on his rehab, and then maybe decide if he wants to get back into playing,
right,
or get behind the anchor desk and analyze it. I thought about that today. I thought about that if they could bring him back. But, again, he'll be 36 years old. And what do the Bucks need? They need younger guys around Giannis. So their new center, this Miles Turner, is 29 years old, right?
Yep.
And so they get that deal. Now they still got to get a little bit under the cap. They had just signed Pat Connaughton, a Bucks fan favorite, to a 3-year deal worth like $9 million. He agreed to that about a month or so ago. Well, now they need another $1 million or so. So they trade him off today after they get the Turner deal down out to the Charlotte Hornets, struggling team. They also had to give up 2 more picks. I mean, I don't think I'm going to have a draft to cover for the next 5 years with the Milwaukee Bucks. They sent like the 2030 and 2031 second-round picks to the Hornets so that they could get Connaughton off their books. In exchange, they're picking up a 31-year-old guard from Serbia named Vasilije Micic, who
God bless you.
Oh, yeah, I thank you. It's allergy season.
Right.
Micic is 31. Now, his agent says, he was already sort of thinking about going back and playing in the European League. So we'll see what that is. But basically, you're swapping paychecks, right?
Right.
With the Hornets. And the Hornets are holding it up for, you got any draft picks left over there? Right. Yeah, we'll take those 2 second-rounders 5 years from now. So that's it. Now you're still kind of short at guard because yesterday you brought back some of these guys you picked up during the season when, remember, you decided to move on from Chris Middleton, right? Sent him to the Wizards. Right. So Gary Trent Jr., 25 years old, was averaging about 12, 13 points a game. He agreed to a 2-year deal yesterday worth only $7.5 million. A lot of observers say, wow, that's a deal for the Bucks. But Gary Trent's like, hey, I'm 25. I can play next to Giannis. Dame ain't coming back this year. Here's an open door. I got a 1 year to prove it, and then I could cash in. They also get Kevin Porter Jr. for $11 million. He was going to test the market, and they're going to bring back Taurean Prince, the 31-year-old forward. So all those guys, those 3 guys that were on the team this year, 2-year deals where they will get a player option in their second year.
Absolutely.
So
incredible.
That's all these moves they made. And they brought in one more guard today, Gary Harris, 30-year-old guy out of the Orlando Magic. He's been in the league like 11 years to help round out the guard depth.
Mike Clemens, I'll ask you what I'm sure you're dying to ask the Bucks management and ownership. The big question of all of this, is this enough to keep Giannis in Milwaukee?
They're probably waiting for him to return the phone call.
Wait, he retweeted our own Dan Schaefer today. Did you see that?
No, that's great.
Schaefer put out on his tweets that that they should retire Bobby Portis's number at Fiserv, and Giannis retweets it and says 1,000,000%.
That's great. That's great. Well, hey, at the end of the day, you gotta assume that all these moves.
Yeah.
What do you think if we get this guy?
Right.
What do you think if you got Miles Turner as your new center? Okay.
Right.
And listen, we understand. You can't stand to spend all next year watching Dame on the bench.
Yeah.
So we'll try and make some moves here. Now, they're not bringing. Right now, they don't have a shooter as accurate with all the experience and all the talent of a Damian Lillard, but this is the best that they can come up with so far.
Yeah. Mike Clemens, like I say, I really appreciate you doing this on short notice with this breaking news. You follow this stuff better than anybody I know. We're lucky to have you. Thank you so much for taking the time, and I know you'll continue to update our listeners at the bottom and the top of each hour with your great sports reporting.
Anytime, Todd. Much appreciated, pal.
Appreciate you. Mike Clemens, everybody, on the phone live with that breaking news from the Bucks. Again, free agent Miles Turner is joining the team, and Damian Lillard is waived. So that's among some of the bigger moves. Also, because Mike Clemens said, comes after Brook Lopez made the move from the team going to the LA Clippers. So lots of moves, all intended to keep Giannis in Milwaukee. That is the breaking sports news out of Milwaukee this day. Closer to home, as we said at the top of the show, white smoke, so to speak, from the state capitol, as the Governor Tony Evers announced this morning via a press release, and others of Republicans have seemed to confirm this, that there is a deal in part, or at least in on paper, a gentle person's handshake, if you will, to have a state budget. Governor Tony Evers, according to the Associated Press, and Republicans who control the state legislature announced the deal early this morning, just after 5 a.m., on a new 2-year budget that cuts income taxes, increasing funding for the University of Wisconsin, despite those threatened cuts, and raises taxes to pay for transportation projects. The deal in the battleground state, where Evers and Republicans have a long history of not working together, emerged the day after the deadline for enacting a new budget. However, there is no government shutdown in Wisconsin, where when the budget is late, the legislature is scheduled to pass it this week. Evers, in his release this morning, called it a, quote, pro-kid budget. That's a win for Wisconsin's kids, families, and our futures, unquote. We're going to break this down just after the bottom of the hour with our very own Dan Schaefer, of the aforementioned Dan Schaefer, great Bucks fan that he is, but also, I would say, an even better political journalist and writer. And he's going to be in to help us recombobulate on all of that. Tony, watching on YouTube, says the news today has completely discombobulated Dan Schaefer. I don't think that. I mean, if anybody can keep his combobulation together, it's our own Dan Schaefer. So he'll be along the bottom of the hour. Here's what's breaking now. State Senator Kelda Royce, Democrat of Madison, who has been kind enough to join us on this program every Monday through the budget process, was scheduled to be on this show right about now. However, Senate Democrats have decided to caucus, and she's been pulled into that caucus. She will join us if and when she can via phone. But there appears to be, keyword appears, to be a bit of consternation amongst Democrats after their own governor announced there's a deal done. What's going on there? We'll discuss that. And also in D.C., it took J.D. Vance getting up off the couch to cast the last vote. We'll explain when we come back. It's the Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Getting out of the couch?
The Todd Allbaugh Show is part of the Civic Media Radio Network and airs across the network weekday afternoons from 2 until 4. To learn more about this show and all of the Civic Media programming, check out the website at civicmedia.us/shows.
You're listening to Civic Media. Stay up to date on the latest news and information for your local community and Wisconsin by signing up for our free email newsletter. Visit civicmedia.us/email to get started.
A little change of pace. We have Nightlight with Pete Schwaba, who welcomes Carl Levenstein, founder of Sturgeon Spirits Distillery. Carl shares his career as a professor at the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh that led him to be a distiller. Pete asks how the distilling process works, and Carl shares what you can get at his distillery.
Welcome back. This is Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Great to have you with me. It's a Tuesday night edition of Nightlight. Slightly different than last night. We had Kurt Newman of the Bodines here. That was fun. And we had, who else do we have on the show, Connor? That was a lot of fun.
Well, we had your buddy Nathan Deming.
I know. I was testing you. And Jeffrey Kurz. That was a great talk about film incentives coming to Wisconsin. And tonight is no different, folks. We have a great guest here in studio right now. Lisa Hale will be here at 7:35. We'll be talking about the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off in honor of Cameron Fry's birthday. It's Alan Ruck's birthday today, so we thought that was a good night to do Ferris Bueller. But before that, we are talking about Sturgeon Spirits Distillery and all the products they make. The distiller is here in the studio, and he is the founder of Sturgeon Spirits, Carl Lowenstein. It's great to have you here. Before we went to the break, I mentioned you gave a very funny answer about, but what is the difference really? I had all these friends where I used to live that loved Scotch and turned me on to Scotch, and they would drink 18-year-old Scotch. I don't even know what that goes for right now in terms of the cost, but I found a 10-year Scotch at Trader Joe's that I loved. And to me, it tasted as good as anything I had. What is the difference? And is it like to the naked palate? Is it that much different?
Well, I think my answer was silly, but it's basically true. 8 years. So what happens is that whiskey sits in contact with the barrel for an additional 8 years, which should mellow it out more.
Okay.
Which there's a little more evaporation, so
less burn.
It should have a little less burn.
Okay.
But I haven't had whiskey around that long, so I can't tell you from personal experience how much the difference is going to be. I mean, I've tried some of those older whiskeys, and I tend to think that the mash overpowers the barrel when you get to that stage. Because the barrels, for me, I've noticed that barrels kind of use up their character. So, after a certain amount of time, you're just not going to get that much more flavor out of the barrel. You're just kind of just letting it rest. So it's kind of that resting that I think can change the complexion. But I don't know the chemistry. I'm not a chemist. I'm a historian. Yeah. So I don't really know what's going on chemically.
Do you like to drink? I would assume you have a pretty good sense of all the stuff if you went into business. Like, you like a good cocktail. Where's your level of drinking?
Yeah, I always say I didn't go into this just because I wanted free booze. But I really was into the making it as a craft, because what I did in my garage is I would make liqueurs that I would give at gifts. So in fact, I gave you a little sample of cranberry vodka, which was basically the first product I made at home. Oh, no because kidding. This is there, and you sweeten it a little bit. It makes a great Cosmo. You use it for Christmas gifts. You can make all sorts of really nice drinks. And so I got into just making alcohol for cocktails. Now I like to drink. My favorite right now is we have this lavender gin. I do a lavender gin and tonic, which I love every night.
Huh.
And then we're always got something new, some new cocktails to just taste. So.
I'm going to hold this up here on the stream again. This is a cranberry vodka from Sturgeon Spirits that Carl brought in. And even the packaging, it's very slick packaging, by the way. But how do you decide on how to package stuff? The whole thing seems like it would be so time consuming, and you're retired.
Well, what I would say is I leaned on good people. One of the things that makes a business like this work is finding good people and work with them. My brand design, my shape, my sturgeon, it was all designed by this amazing local design team in Oshkosh who made this lovely package. Quill Design Studios put this whole thing together, and that became the basis for everything that we do. I hired an architect to make sure our building and our tasting room and our fit the kind of character that we wanted to create. So at every step of the way, you find the right people, you can make this whole thing work.
It's a great passion project for you.
It is.
Yeah. So what's the most... tell us this first. Where did the name Sturgeon Spirits come from?
Well, I think it's a celebration of our community. I mean, one of the things in the Lake Winnebago Basin and the Fox River and all through the area are these great, amazing primordial fish that has the weirdest fishing season you can possibly imagine, right? A frozen lake, and you spear them. I mean, this is a phenomenon that you will see nowhere else in the world. And I wanted to celebrate that. And I'll tell you one more story, because I do like to tell stories. So the house I bought when I moved to Oshkosh 25 years ago was also built by sturgeon poachers. So I'm connected to the history of sturgeon. So the family that built this house, apparently, though they actually started to put the control on sturgeon fishing back in the 20s because the dang Russians were taking all the caviar, right? They were fishing out the whole population for caviar. And so they put this caps on, but the people who owned the house just kept right on fishing the sturgeon out of the lake. They had a smokehouse in the backyard, and then they would sell them out of their ice business.
Wow. That's fascinating. And what better mascot, so to speak, for your business than a sturgeon for a history professor, because they're so old, they're like prehistoric. It says this ancient species made its first appearance about 100 million years ago. Is that 100 million?
100 million years ago.
Okay, in the Upper Cretaceous period of the Mesozoic era. It's just you're in the weeds here with your history stuff, but that's a great name. And and you guys do a lot for the community too. We'll get to that maybe after the news. But what's the most difficult spirit to make? Like, is there one that's finicky? Like you have to be overly meticulous when you're distilling it?
I haven't found anything that's been really hard to do. I have I have temperature control issues, right? So one of the things you have to worry about is yeast is really picky. You got to keep your temperature down. If it gets too high, the yeast basically kills itself. If it gets too low, they stop being active. You got to keep your pH right. So there's a lot of chemistry that I have to deal with. But the recipes themselves, the base distilling hasn't been radically different from one product to the next.
That is fascinating. All right. We have Carl Lowenstein is in the studio. He is the founder of Sturgeon Spirits Distillery in Oshkosh, and they do tours. They have tons of craft cocktails. He's only been in business for less than 2 years. And after the news, the second act, after intermission, we're going to come back and talk about how you use rhubarb in your vodkas. And you have a jalapeno vodka. I don't know if you're the first to ever do that. It's the first I've heard of it. So we'll talk about that and Carl's process and more about what they do for the community and how you can be part of a great experience at Sturgeon Spirits. It's Pete Schwab and Nightlight. We're coming back on the Civic Media Radio Network.
And I thank God I'm alive.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba is part of the Civic Media Radio Network and airs across the network weekdays from 6 until 8 p.m. To learn more about this show and all of the Civic Media programming, check out the website at civicmedia.us/shows.
Next up on the docket, we talk to Pat with Mornings with Pat Kreitlow. Political strategist Melissa Baldauff reacts to the breaking news about the Wisconsin Supreme Court throwing out an 1849 statute that some had been interpreted as an abortion ban. She also evaluates the bipartisan state budget deal. Both stories offer quite a reminder of the importance of every election. Plus, in our climate check, some ingenuity allows a farm field to still be used for grazing as well as a solar farm. Make the panels mobile and let the cows graze.
I am very thankful that Melissa Baldauff is willing to come in here once a week and talk about climate issues. It's a subject near and dear to her heart, but she wears many hats as a consultant, as a political strategist, and more. And so we're probably going to spend more time in this segment on a couple of other matters, and then we'll get to a little bit of our climate check and the happy cows that can result from a little bit of creativity when it comes to solar farms that are out there. But Melissa is going to help us first deal with the new budget deal right after we talk about the breaking news of the state Supreme Court throwing out the 1849 law that some had considered to be an abortion ban. Melissa, good morning. What's your take on the state Supreme Court throwing that 1849 law out, kicking it to the curb?
Good morning. It is a good morning. And this is exactly what, I think so many people wanted to see happen, was a fair and impartial court invalidating a law that, is almost 200 years old and really impacted the rights of women to make our own healthcare decisions. So this is a law that predates us even, just knowing about germs, right? I mean, this is ridiculous that this has been on the books for so long. And it is just an incredible win for the people of this state to have women's rights and freedoms restored by this court.
Well, and on top of that, for all this talk about, originalism and what founders intended and all that, why would we take away from the notion that we have had continuously changing government, continuously changing society for these past 150, 200 years? And what the progressive justices were saying was, look, there have been all of these other changes to abortion law over the years, so many different changes that it basically can't help but overrule the stuff that was written earlier. Because again, elections have consequences. You have different people in charge each time. They've made these changes of law. Looking at this, and
I've skimmed it as quickly as I could, and I have to say, this AI summary that Tony has helped put together and shared with us is, I think, pretty good. It says the court erased the state's near total criminal abortion ban as a matter of statutory construction, not constitutional law. Abortions may resume within the detailed and sometimes onerous regulatory framework enacted since the 1970s. They note that the legislature retains full authority to tighten or loosen that framework, and the ruling invites renewed legislative deliberation rather than ending the debate. And again, Melissa, it's just a matter of, again, with all the respect you can have for your founders, they don't get to tie our hands. We still get to live in the here and now, whether you're talking about muskets versus assault weapons or women's role in society and the rights they have now versus then.
Exactly. This is one of those perfect illustrations of why the, Constitution is a living document. It was always intended to adapt and change with the times, and the framers could ever have conceived of the society we have now. I think if you took, the framers and dropped them in today's society, their heads might explode when they saw, all of the technology we have and where we've come, and that's just the whole point, is that it was always intended to be a document that was changed, was adapted. The only thing that isn't supposed to change is, the core principles and beliefs of, life, liberty, and justice for all. That's the foundation, not, any other specific prescriptive words necessarily, because those can change and should change and have changed. And the abortion law here is, a great example. It's, kind of like the, ship of Theseus, right? And that's, I think, where we've gotten with the end of this case, right? Is like where it started, it's changed so much. Is it even that thing that it started as anymore? And it's really not. It's changed so many times, what the law is on abortion and what the ruling is. So, I think that this is a great day for women, to make their own healthcare decisions again, even though we know that there are limits there, but, protect things like IVF, which would have been completely at risk here, and make sure that, women and families have the right to make their own decisions about what's best for them.
Yeah. Folks that want to start their own theocracy can do it, someplace else, because right here, every election matters. And yes, we live in a time where the next election is always the most important election. The one that switched control of this state Supreme Court was the most important election of its time. Prior to that, the re-election of Governor Tony Evers was the most important election of its time, which takes us to our next subject, the new state budget deal. Governor Evers worked it out with Republicans who control the legislature. It will be a very bipartisan vote later today in the Assembly and the Senate, with Democrats voting yes and no, Republicans voting yes and no, and people having very strong feelings on depending on what end of the spectrum they're coming from. And I'm not saying all that to say that this is a good deal, Melissa, but again, if Tony Evers had not won election, the way this would look under a Governor Tim Michels administration is a hell of a lot different.
It absolutely is. And, this isn't the budget that the governor wanted. The budget the governor wanted is the one he proposed. But this is, I think, this is a very good deal considering what the alternative was. And this, I think, shows the incredible commitment of the governor and his staff. I want to make sure to really shout out my former colleagues in the governor's office and throughout state government for their work on this, because yes, it is the leaders and the principals, making a lot of these deals, but it's also an incredible amount of work by the staff to get there, and their commitment to this is just unparalleled. But I applaud the governor and our Democratic leader for getting there, because this is, I do believe, the best deal we could get out of this legislature. But at the same time, I respect and value and support the Democrats who are going to vote against this, because it's not what we deserve, and it's not the best budget for the state. It's the best budget we could get right now, but it's the best budget but it's not the best budget for the state. So, I think that they are correct to, hold the line for themselves and for their constituents, and to draw the contrast of, what is going to be in the state budget and what could be and should be in the state budget. And they'll really have a chance to demonstrate that when Democrats are in the majority in, a couple years here with the budget. That's the goal. That's what we think is going to happen. Democrats taking back the Senate and an incredibly good chance to take back the Assembly. And the budget that will pass in 2 years because of that is going to look a whole lot different than this one. And it's going to be a whole lot better for the people of this state. So I think this was, the right choice, even though it's a very difficult one. But Governor Evers has proven time and time again that he is willing to make the difficult choices that need to happen.
We're talking to Melissa Baldauff, and we've covered the legislative matters, the court matters. Now let's get to something that really matters: happy cows, and which
I've got to just say, I still take a lot of issue with the whole marketing campaign of happy cows come from California.
Oh yeah,
from years past. I mean, that's
just bold pun intended, by the way. So yeah, we know where the happy cows are. And,
that's right.
And they're up here. The story actually comes out of Morris, Minnesota, University of Minnesota campus out there. But for all of the caterwauling about solar farms that says, well, the crops won't be able to grow now and cattle won't be able to graze now. I was always a little dubious of that because like anything else, you pick your shot. You use what is best for the land if you can. But if you can use a little creativity, then so much the better. And the story out of Minnesota is all about how a solar array, a whole bunch of solar panels, are put on top of basically an electric powered vehicle, a tractor, a truck, whatever the case may be, that slowly moves along the field so that the cows can graze in the shade underneath the panels. I don't know if I have a particular climate question here. I'm just here to salute good old American ingenuity for getting the best of both worlds.
Yeah, this is such a cool story. I loved when you sent me this. I mean, talk about innovation. And like you said, using what you have. So this is, I think, just incredible to see the fact that, we know that we have seen so many farmers and producers and folks in the ag industry be incredibly committed to climate solutions. And it is just great to see that, you can do both things, right? Two things can be true at the same time, as my husband, Joseph Pecky, likes to say quite often. And that is that we can do right by the planet and continue doing business in a way that is going to be productive and beneficial. So, I think this is a great example of that. And I hope to see, more. I hope to see some farms in Wisconsin employing this approach because it seems really neat.
I've never been able to ask Melissa a personal question like this, but she has opened up the door for it. Tell me that Joseph Pecky has used that saying during discussions between the two of you to say, well, two things can be true at once. I didn't do the dishes and I was very busy today.
No, so he definitely uses it in personal conversation with me and with the kids. But not to get out of his share of the household chores.
All right. The solar trailer, by the way, has a capacity of 60 kilowatt hours. The panels are equivalent to about 18 kilowatt hours. It obviously does not have a long extension cord, that's tied to the grid. So you're powering these batteries that can then be used, later on down the road. But again, it's just another way of saying that invention never stops. When I was there was a special legislative committee on biofuels, and there were a lot of people going, "Oh, ethanol is terrible for the planet." Blah, blah, blah. But the research that's being done on biodiesel all across Wisconsin, and so that you need less of a carbon footprint, to grow the corn or the different crops that make biofuels. I was just amazed by it. People wanted this knee-jerk reaction to oppose ethanol. Look at the research and watch how it's evolving and unfolding. And that frankly, given where the Trump administration is, I think that's where we're going to get, the positive stories is the ongoing role of innovation.
I agree. And that I'm going to use that to tie back to very briefly, and I'll make a point here, I promise, our conversation on the budget. And one of the reasons I think that the budget deal is the right one is because of the investment that is coming into the our university system with this budget when Republicans initially wanted to do nothing. And now we're going to get a big investment for the UW system. And, this story we see is in partnership, the project with one of the University of Minnesota campuses.
Yep.
And the campus is carbon neutral now, thanks to their advancements in energy production. So we want to make sure that we can keep innovating on our campuses as well. That's very important to our progress.
Melissa Baldauff with our climate check and much more. Thanks, Melissa. Have a great 4th.
Thanks. You too.
All right, a local update is next for some of you, and the rest of you will come back here for some final news and notes and a visit with James Kelly. Remember, you can follow me at upnorthnewswi.com and, of course, right here mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Mornings with Pat Kreitlow is affiliated with the Civic Media Radio Network and airs on select Civic Media stations weekday mornings from 6 until 9. To learn more about this show and all of the Civic Media programming, check out the website at civicmedia.us/shows.
You're listening to Civic Media. Find the latest news, information, and archives of all your favorite shows on the Civic Media website, civicmedia.us.
Welcome back to our last and final segment of the Civic Media Spotlight. We're finishing out with a good one in Maino and the Mayor. Maino and the Mayor is joined by Jackson Mankowski for a signing of Ray Charles' America the Beautiful to commemorate the 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, folks.
Hey, welcome back. Wrapping up here on a beautiful Wednesday morning right now in downtown Appleton, downtown Oshkosh. Are we downtown in Appleton? I was going to say Appleton.
No, we're not.
Okay.
We're Green Bay.
Well, we got 2 downtowns.
Green Bay.
Yep.
Sunny, Iceland, shower and storms this afternoon. High in the mid-80s today.
I don't think so.
Okay.
It is, Jim.
Yeah, it is, Jim. Thank you. We got a text. Oh, by the way, the Brewers at the Mets, 11:35 today, wrapping it up, and then 5:35 on WISS. And I got a text here. We're talking about those boats with amazing wake. Jim will never have one. They are too slow for him.
3 miles an hour, that's a little slow. That is a little slow, Dave.
Throw that one up.
So we do have a chance for some showers and storms. The chance is dropping, but it's still there for this afternoon.
Okay. It's been all over the place this year, though. Hasn't it, though?
What app are you using? And what's the city that you have there, Jim?
It says chance of participation.
Orlando.
Participation or precipitation?
Precipitation. And it goes maybe 5%.
Okay, mine says, and I'm checking 3 apps right now, 45%.
Okay. How do I know what app this is? I don't even know how to tell.
You're asking me? Did you actually ask me a question with the word app?
Yeah, I don't know.
You could pick any person off the street and ask them that question.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it looks like 40% chance of rain after 5 p.m.
I'm using the 10-day forecast app. Does that help?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Okay.
I don't know.
Anyway.
I don't know either.
All right, we'll go with yours, Todd.
All right. So, Todd, tell us again about tomorrow if people heard that and would like to hear it again.
So 2 things. Number 1, you can download your podcast every day. Nancy actually said, if you see there on your screen, Nancy actually said she's going to download this podcast and keep it on her phone or her computer so she can listen to it anytime. You can do that as well. You can listen to the podcast on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. You can get it on the Civic Media app, civicmedia.us. Click on shows, click on Maino and the Mayor. Tomorrow morning in our Daddy D Productions live music series, we're going to basically replay what we just heard on the show.
That sounds great. That sounds great.
All right. Is Terry coming on?
Terry is not.
All right. So she was going to talk about what she has going on Sunday. I interviewed for my show on Sunday the Bayshore Bicycle Club. They've been around since 1981. Everybody's heard about them. I wasn't sure what they did. Do you know that they do 3 rides a week? They have 120 members. You'll like this. On Wednesdays, they ride to a supper club.
Oh, really? I've never heard of that.
No,
that sounds very cool.
That's what I said. I'm in. I asked about favorites. He goes, well, yeah, I mentioned favorites.
Try them all. Huh?
Yeah, try them all.
That's cool. I think that's awesome.
And then Sundays they do a ride and one other day of the week. And, they probably 12 miles an hour, maybe 14. It's not like they're speedsters, but because Sundays it's a little
great way to see. We were talking about one of the best ways to see a community is on the water. The other way is
on a bike.
On a bike.
Yeah.
It's not even a question.
No one ever gets left behind, right? I mean, if you're a little slower, he goes, we would never leave anybody behind. But just a cool organization. And I said, so what's like the mission? Like, what's the most important thing? You think, well, it's health and, really appreciating biking. He goes, really, it's the social aspect. We talked about exactly what we talked about today again, is that how important, even with the realtor, how important socialization is. And if you don't socialize, it can, be not good. So I said, well, what about the winter? Oh, he goes, we do snowshoeing and other things. So I said, well, have you
get them out of the house?
I said, have you considered a name change?
Yeah, like Champ.
He said, no, we talked about it, but no, we're going to stay.
But I'm a firm believer in that, especially for people getting up there a little bit if they're retired or anything like that. Give them a good reason to get out of the house.
That's what he said. That's what they do. I thought it was just a really,
I think that's awesome.
Really cool
I really
guy,
do.
And we had nice visits.
You should join them. You got a bike.
And he said that I asked him about average age, and it would be like probably 10 years younger than us, but it's not. It's not a bunch of like 18, 19-year-olds.
Right.
So it's more adults that. So it's $25 a year, $30 a year. So anyway,
I think that's great.
That guy, it was really interesting for me, and then I talked to him a little bit more. Actually, the reason I know those guys is they'd come to meetings because when we built the new street, they always want a bike lane.
Oh, and you were mayor?
Yeah.
I might not be here though because I might be accepting a new job.
What's that?
I just got it. Good morning. I'm Elena, customer service representative from Best Buy. Your resume has been recommended by multiple online recruitment platforms.
Oh my gosh, John. Really? You think that could come through?
Yeah.
Being a guy in a blue shirt?
Yeah.
Welcome to Best Buy?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
No experience required, free training.
Right.
Monthly salary $6,000 to $10,000.
And
That's annual.
So somebody comes into the store, John. Let's role play just briefly. I come in.
Certainly.
High tech.
I'm going to be I'll say like an older gentleman. Okay.
Hi, I'm John. May I help you?
Oh, John, my name is Edward.
Edward, good to see you.
I got a phone here about 6 years ago.
You're wearing that cap. Where were you're in the Army? What branch?
That's exactly.
Army? So when were you in?
I was back in 48.
No, you were in 48. Come on.
At any rate, John, I'm having problems with.
But what were you, Army?
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
Army?
Yeah.
What division? Fourth division?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Okay. What do you got there?
I got a phone.
Yeah. I got one too.
Yeah.
This thing, though, I got to be honest with you. I can't figure out. I'll tell you. Let me just show you something, Edward.
Yeah.
Do you know how to get? Look at this. I don't. Oh wait, no. Hang on a second.
Are you having some problems? I might be able to help you
I'm
with
gonna
that.
find it. Well, I dropped it, and I don't know if I need a new one. So, anyway, okay. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
It's can't make a phone call on it. For some reason, it's just giving me the wrong forecast. It's saying that it's going to be nice today, but I think it's going to rain.
Yeah. Don't believe that. Don't believe that stuff.
This is exactly how it would
right?
go.
Edward,
no, it would.
Edward, you think you got problems with your phone? The guy I work with, you can't believe this.
Or somebody would walk in and they would say to you, hey, could you help me with this app? And it's like, the applications are over there if you want a job.
Right.
You know?
I'm looking for some Bluetooth headphones.
Right.
What can I?
No, we don't sell toothbrushes here. So.
Sir, I'm not happy with the service I've received here. Well, you know what? We're not happy with you. How's that? No?
Nah, John, pass on that. Stay with radio. Stick with radio.
Just
you belong here.
Another edition of Maino and the Mayor Theater
right.
this morning.
You belong right
Todd,
here.
you did a phenomenal job putting
today.
everything together.
So did John
today,
Kramer.
Phenomenal job.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. We're going to be playing those back again tomorrow. That was just awe-inspiring.
You got to be in the spirit now.
See you tomorrow, everybody.
Maino and the Mayor is part of the Civic Media Radio Network and airs on WISS and WGBW weekday mornings from 6 until 9. To learn more about this show and all of Civic Media's programming, check out the website at civicmedia.us/shows.
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.